All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. The time is 5:04 p.m., and I hereby call this special joint meeting of the Student Senate and the Faculty Senate to order. And so very quickly, we'll explain what this is here in just a moment, but just for housekeeping's sake, we'll take attendance of our student senators just to start off. So when I call your name, please say here or present. Iono Dimhoff. Rolls. Reinhardt. Marcus. Jones. Pelzer. O'Connor. Shin, Utica, Palin, Moisango, Kekun, Azan, Kameyer, Moyer, Hartley, Shamsai, Verriger, Snyder, Momini, Nondal, James, Bailey, Johnson, Dugan, Neal, Sloop, Pursley, and Cronin. With that, we do have quorum for the evening. And so with that, next we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Acting Sergeant at Arms.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, once again, thank you all very much for being here. We're going to start with President Hirsch to talk a little bit about what this meeting is meant to be.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Faculty and student government members, I want to start off with a special thank you to President Parsa and President-elect Gillette for your willingness to work with students and student government. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then I also want to thank our very own Director of Academic Affairs, who this event would not be possible without. So thank you, Rachel Frost. Appreciate it. We as student government could not be more excited to work with Faculty Senate members. This year, we've made a deliberate effort to make sure that we had student government representation at your meetings, in your committees. We want to be involved in Faculty Senate because in student government, we recognize that we're only as strong as the relationships that we're able to make on campus and in the Ames community. So tonight, we'll talk about really important issues that are facing the student body. This is a unique opportunity to build a relationship with a stronger relationship with the Faculty Senate and provide real input into academic policy being considered at Iowa State University. Student government has been around since 1904, and this is the first time in the history of our organization that we've been able to have a joint meeting between Faculty Senate. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And I'll turn it over to President Parsa.
Well, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for the invitation. This is awesome. First thing we notice is you guys are too formal for us. You know, we don't dress up for our meetings. We just show up, and we don't even have a gavel or anything. You know, we just kind of do it. You know, so but this is very nice, very nice. Thank you for the invitation. We're looking forward to working with you. The partnership is good so far. Meeting you every meeting you're coming, and I just want to say. The weather is not a reflection of our relationship. You know, this is our relationship much warmer, and the topics are even hotter. You know, so we got a good topics, and we're looking forward to working with you. And thank you for the invitation.
All right, well, thank you both very much. Much appreciated. And so with that, just to kind of talk briefly about what this meeting is, and so like President Parsa talked about a little bit, the Student Senate operates slightly differently than the Faculty Senate. And so we've provided you with an agenda ahead of time. Hopefully you have that either on paper or on your computer. We identified some topics that we think are of mutual interest to talk about, both from the student perspective and from the Faculty Senate. And so we'll kind of go through them in sort of a timed discussion. This is actually something we do, just for context, once a semester with the Ames City Council. We call it a joint meeting. So we're not voting on legislation. We're not meant to be super formal with the Roberts rules and the gavel and everything. It kind of looks like we are a little bit, but meant to be a more, kind of two-way, fluid conversation. And so we really want to hear from the faculty, what things you want to know from students as far as input that we could give you. And from the student side, we really want to ask you questions about how decisions are being made and understand and be able to voice our input on that respect as well. So it really is meant to be a two-way conversation where we can all leave with a better understanding of the other group and also maybe some ideas to collaborate in the future. The way we traditionally do it, and it's a little bit more flexible because this is a working meeting technically, but we try to keep it to 2 speaking privileges per person just so we can kind of keep it going around a little bit. You'll notice instead of with the Faculty Senate having to come and come to an aisleway and use a microphone, you do have a microphone on your table. And so you either have a handheld type like this where you flip the switch up, or you have one that sits on the table where you press the button. You don't press the red button, it's on the opposite side. But it's meant to be kind of a more fluid conversation because you don't have to get up to participate. You can contribute right from where you are. And so if you'd like to speak, what we ask you to do is put up your placard that we've given you just like this. So we know, come over your way and you have something to contribute to the conversation. And then also we do have our cameras as well, so we actually do live stream our Senate meetings, and they're available on our YouTube channel just so students can understand what we're up to. So hopefully that's a little bit of context. We really appreciate all of our faculty senators being here tonight. Like President Hirsch and President Parsa were talking about, it really is a really special relationship, and we want to be more proactive this year. So instead of just sending someone to your meetings, we want to have forums. Hopefully it extends beyond this. There are more opportunities in the future, but have forums where we can actually have conversations between our 2 groups. So again, we really appreciate you being here. So if that's just from the student side, we'll move into open forum. If anyone is here tonight for open forum, I would ask that you approach the podium at this time. Seeing no one here tonight for open forum, we'll move into adopting this evening's agenda. Do I have a motion to do so? Moved and seconded. Any objections to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll get started. And so like we talked about, we have, I believe it's 5 topics on here, and we're meant to kind of keep them to 10 minutes. Although if there's something that from the faculty side you're especially interested in, we can kind of be flexible with that time. And we want to make sure that we're answering whatever questions you have from the faculty side. So first on the agenda is the rise of hybrid learning. So I know specifically the Faculty Senate was interested in the student experience when it comes to remote and or hybrid learning. And then any other discussion in that category, we'd love to hear from students or faculty what you want to know about. So we'll start with President Parsa.
I thought it would be nice to have the senators introduce themselves before we start.
That would be great. Let's go ahead.
So please rise and introduce yourself and the college you're from and what department you represent. The faculty senators.
Johnny DeBlasi in Art and Visual Culture, College of Design.
Michael Martin, senator for a few years, Landscape Architecture, College of Design.
Jennifer Shields, I'm from the Department of Natural Resource Ecology and Management, and I'm the current Academic Affairs Council Chair.
Tongwu Li, I'm here on behalf of Alisa Rizzo from World Languages and Cultures.
Ryan Martin, Department of Mathematics.
Juan Carlos Cordova, Economics, Liberal Arts and Sciences.
Push where it says push. Yeah. Jonathan Fox from Health and Human Sciences. We just added the health. And I'm in the Department of Human Development and Family Studies.
Chris Day, Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering.
All right, of course. Well, thank you all very much again. We appreciate you being here. We really are excited to talk with you. So if that floor is open on rise of hybrid learning, we'd love to hear from students about what your experience has been, and we can get the conversation started there. Starting with Speaker Momini.
I'll start. When I first came to Iowa State, it was right after COVID had happened, so obviously I was very familiar with online learning and honestly had a bit of a disdain towards it. I didn't like it. I didn't want to go to my classes online. Sometimes I slept through them, but not anymore. At Iowa State, I like my online classes a bit more. I don't know if it's because the material is more engaging and it's more challenging, so I'm more likely to do it, or if there's more of a percentage associated with my grade. But I think overall, I've grown to like it compared to my high school experience. So that's kind of my input. I yield.
All right, Senator Hartley.
I am currently in my first Iowa State online class, and I have really been enjoying it so far. It's allowed me to take more classes than I feel I would have been able to fit on my regular schedule, as well as just allow me to start working on a certificate. So I've really enjoyed my experience so far.
Senator Pelzer, I'm sorry, I can't quite see you.
Sorry.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay. Okay. So I've taken 2 financial capstones for financial counseling and planning, and one was in person and one was online. I think I had it with you. And I really enjoyed both of the classes. So you can breathe. I think I learned a lot from both, and I recently did a survey about 350 students, and I asked them, like, what do you like most? What do you want more of at Iowa State? And one thing that I really heard was, I want more learning that relates to real-world experiences, and I feel like both of those classes really did. Took them, I felt way more prepared for a career.
All right. Pardon? O'Connor. Yeah, I can't quite see all of you. The 2-ring format's a little new to us, so if I can't see you, just flag me down, please. But go ahead.
Hello. All right. My name is Kevin O'Connor. I'd like to bring up the usage of hybrid learning for when it is cold like this. I know that classes have been canceled or moved online tomorrow morning because of how cold it is, but I think that the standards could be a little bit looser on it, not only taking into account safety of students, but also comfort. Below 0, while it's still possible to go outside and walk to classes, it's really cold and uncomfortable. And with how much hybrid learning has developed since COVID, I feel like that on days that below 0, I think it can be moved online more, given based on preference. And yeah.
All right, and I would say to our senators as well, if you have any questions, I would encourage you to ask them. I'm curious if anyone from Faculty Senate would be interested in chiming in about kind of how and why that decision is made when it comes to hybrid learning for the use of online. So please go ahead.
Am I on? Oh, I am. Yes. Okay, so I teach in a design program, and we had to go online in 2020 after spring break, the COVID year. And I found that Design Studio really didn't work because this is a very interactive thing. It's a very tutorial style. I had another class that semester, and I felt like, from my perspective, it did not work. I think some students were happy to be home. I don't know, I didn't take a poll. But I think that what was missing was my sense, this is sort of selfish, right? But it's my sense that I was actually connecting with everyone. And I can do that in a room of people. I'm not talking about large classes, though. This is maybe different for a big class, but I felt very alienated from the group. While I had some good interactions with some students, I also felt like a lot of them were probably tuned out and that we were not having the sort of learning community experience that we normally did. So in the fall, we had the opportunity to be online or not. And I did all my classes in person, and I had great parking spaces. It was awesome, But I really resist it because of from my perspective, I feel like the connections are broken.
I'm still learning everyone's name, but Senator Wallace, I believe, if you'd like to add on to that, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's very convenient to automatically shift and go to an online format for some disciplines. But I come from biology, and I have colleagues in chemistry and physics and various people in engineering who run laboratories throughout the week. And it puts a huge kink in the entire machine running smoothly when we have students unable to get to labs and having to try to make up those labs. It's more of a challenge for the student. It places undue burden on the student in terms of their responsibility. And we have staff and laboratory infrastructure that has to be made available to them in a timely fashion. So If it were all lecture courses, yeah, it would be seamless and easy to move back and forth. But for laboratory courses and for, like Michael has, for studios and so on, scheduling becomes a nightmare. Even if we start a day late, if we started on a Tuesday this semester, that losing that one Monday means we have to somehow make up that whole Monday lab for multiple sections, say in Biology 2110. It places an undue burden not just on the students, but also on the staff and TAs and so on who have to make up that time. So this does present a logistic problem. It's not a conceptual problem, it's a logistic problem.
Senator Neal.
Like a couple of professors have explained, I personally have a love-hate relationship with hybrid learning, especially as a design student. I've taken now 2 CRP classes online, and my current one, I'm very lucky to have a professor who's really good at facilitating community with me and my online classmates, but there definitely is a struggle to facilitate that community, especially in a major that's so dependent on connecting person to person with your classmates and with the material you're looking at. And I feel like that's also very hard to put into a curriculum for students and professors of, building a community with the people in your class. So I think that's a unique challenge that maybe isn't thought about as much with online learning.
Iono Dimhoff.
Can you hear me? Okay. So to echo at what Senator Neal actually just said, I also agree. I've had the opportunity to take multiple online classes, and while they're great for time efficiency, it is more difficult to build relationships with other students and your professor. It can be intimidating to go to the office hours if you need help with the online courses rather than in person. That's just kind of been my experience, but this semester I've had the opportunity to actually take a hybrid course. It's my Architecture 3210 now that we do the 4-digit. But once a month we're meeting together in smaller sections, and kind of gives an opportunity where we get to talk to the professor, but then also other classmates. It's a larger course, but I definitely appreciate being able to do lectures online, but still have to go in and get to meet my professor and actually talk to him and pick his brain a little bit. But yeah, I yield.
All right. Sorry, I couldn't quite see your placard in the back corner there. Yeah.
Thank you. Just want to emphasize that, for some courses it might work better, but for some other courses it won't. Because, for example, I teach language, Chinese language, and culture. For the culture courses, it's okay. You do the lecture and you have students to do the group discussion. But for language, it really doesn't work because language is for communication, for real communication, right? You have to see the students and you have to see each other's face, the body language, and everything counts, pronunciation. So I think, at least for my experiences, it's not, an easy decision to move everything online or to hybrid.
President Hirsch?
Well, thank you. I had a question for our faculty members. I believe that students do better in online classes versus the in-person version of that same class. But from your own personal experience, do you think students take away as much as they can from those online classes and they learn as much, even if their grade is higher than what it typically is if the class is in person?
Can you hear me? So I teach both online and face-to-face classes. And I think the answer to that is it just really depends on the student. And I know that that's not a fantastic answer, but some students, I've even seen it during the winter session where I think they've really learned a lot and I think they've really engaged with material, maybe because they're only taking one class at a time. It is condensed, of course. But it really just depends on the student. And I think, sometimes people's lives are really busy and you might be taking an online course, like in terms of time efficiency, and maybe you're not really interested in the topic very much. So you're maybe not likely to take as much away as if you were if you had the time and you were able to carve out the time, if you were really interested in the topic, if you connected with the instructor as much as you can online. So it's not a really great answer, but it really just depends on the student, because we can as instructors, we can put out so much, but the students also have to put in effort to take all that in, right, and to really work with that. And sometimes it's your jam, and sometimes it's not.
My experience is it's not meant for everyone and everybody and every course. Occasionally, so I teach actuarial science. Last week we had to go online. It worked fine. Occasionally I can do it. And I taught MBA. We used to teach face-to-face, then they went to hybrid. I didn't think it worked. Actually, I kind of thought it was sucked. Because, you know, one class we meet in person, one class it's hybrid. They're on their own. And I did not see, sometimes they don't catch up. Like regression topic is a good example. There's multiple linear regression, multiple regression. If they didn't study linear, they don't understand the multiple. So what I'm teaching, I rely so much on them catching up with the material, so it's difficult. But then I did full on-time online when it was COVID for the MBA class, but it's only sample of size 1, you know, so I'm not sure how good that was. But they did well, honestly, they did well. I was pleasantly surprised, but I used to have lots of virtual meetings with them whenever they wanted to meet. That worked. But I think occasionally it's a good thing to have, but I would not insist, from students' perspective, do not insist I want online, because some classes are not tenable. And I also have a pet peeve on this. Don't turn your camera off. It just irritates the heck out of me. I need to see your face, you know, because I don't know what you're doing if I don't see your face. That really bothers me, you know. And so I have no idea what they're doing if they don't paying attention or not. So thank you.
Shin.
Hello? Okay. So as a biomedical engineering in the College of Engineering, our first class for our design project was it was a big struggle because it was online and we were trying to set up all of our programs and everything, and that was just a big pain. So that's something that I really wish was done in person. However, later on there was some portions of the class where I was like, oh, I wish this was done online, because sometimes it's hard to keep up with the professor because they'll just keep going and I'll be like, I don't know what you just did and now I can't do anything else. So just having that opportunity of like maybe classes being recorded or just sometimes just having it online is definitely helpful, because even when it's normal lecture, it's very helpful just to be like, oh, what did they say? Because I just didn't get it because I was taking notes on something else. But yeah.
All right, thank you. I'm wondering if we'll move to Senator Azan and kind of hit some folks on this side of the room. Yes, Jake, you included as well. And then maybe we want to move into soft skills here in a minute, but we'll go with Senator Azan.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to share my experience as a graduate student for context. So sometimes I do feel like instructors are monotonic, especially when we do online teaching, and it's just the slides are moving, and and there are very less team-based activities included in the online mode, which actually makes it very challenging for as a student to get involved. You kind of like feel tired or sleepy or whatever you can call, because it's a monotonic, and so having the opportunity to have more team-based activities or breakout room sessions where students can get involved with the practice problems or different ideas, that will really make a difference. And also I feel like some instructors are not that much confident with technology, which is something that maybe Faculty Senate can introduce in one of the resolution or bill to actually make sure we have proper training for some of the faculties to get involved, evolve with the technology, which is, and that is my personal opinion. I'm not reflecting all the professors, but some professors do really feel challenged when they have to, set up Zoom meetings or, work with different applications that is out there to get it more involved. So that's my experience as a student. And then as a TA, it is also challenging to set up all these resources online. And I'm going to echo with, it seems like the students are just not involved in the class. I taught a course as an online instructor of record, asynchronous, and it was asynchronous, so it was very challenging for me. I created a discussion post and all the things that I can do, but it was very challenging for me to actually gauge how much students are learning, especially with like cheatings and other things that is out there that you cannot control that much. So yeah, it's very challenging. So I can feel you from your perspective too. Thank you.
All right, Snyder, if you'd like to go, and then we'll go to Senator Jones in the back.
I just had a question. Any faculty senator can answer this, but I've recently taken a couple more online classes than I have in past semesters, and when the time for course evaluations came out, I didn't really feel like I knew my professor as well as I would have if I had taken an in-person class. Obviously, outside of the module videos and explanations that they post in their Canvas. Is there anything to be said for maybe getting rid of, maybe not entirely, but reducing the weight of a professor's course evaluations if it's an online class? I would be open to any clarifying questions as well. I feel like that's kind of poorly phrased, but I yield.
It's a phenomenal point.
I'll say something, and you can. One thing is that technology is. You think you got it. I mean, other day I was using this Wacom. It was working fine, but I didn't do for 5 minutes. Then it failed. So now I'm still struggling how to get that. So. Yeah, you never know what can go wrong. My wife teaches online. Suddenly something crashes. But I did learn some things. For example, Shin was pointing out, now I use it a lot. This Excel to do the statistical analysis in MBA class, I mean, they could not follow me sometimes in the classroom, even though, you can only go slow down so much. But with the Excel on the recordings, I just post them all online, thinking they can go back, pause, stop, forward, whatever they want to do. They can watch as many times. So there are some good things for doing those recordings. But another thing is, we can't keep on recording them because there's some people have to help us in the background to do all that. So there is, so I tell my students, so these are old jokes, so don't rely on those jokes now, because they're 3 years old or 4 years old. That's the way it is. Because to record every time, they had to make the sleeves and all that, so there were some issues there.
Please, go ahead.
So was that Senator Snyder? Is that you? Okay, to Senator Snyder's question about teaching evaluations, faculty value teaching evaluations not just for the feedback that they get about their actual in-class performance, about how well the course was received, how much information was gained, but we're also required to record that information and report it in our annual summary, our job performance summary every year. And for many people, particularly the probationary faculty who are not tenured yet, this is an important component of their progress through the university. So when we get the situation, which happens very, very frequently with online courses, very few students have feedback about the sort of personal interaction or any of the progress that the student has made in I don't know, and it's not really bonding, it's just communicating effectively so that a good learning environment is created between the professor and the student. That's sometimes very difficult to establish online. And the other point that I'll make is since we moved years and years ago from paper evaluations, which were done in the classroom, to online student evaluations of teaching, the percent of responding by students has dropped from about 65 to 70% or more to below 40 or 35%. So if yeah, so Jennifer was just saying she's lucky to get 20% response of students for in-person classes. So the whole issue of student evaluations of teaching is important. We think it's necessary. The administrators at the university want it to be maintained, but it does provide a real problem, which is exacerbated by the distance created by online interactions, and that's a real issue that needs to be addressed.
Sure.
Is there anything to be said of creating a modified course evaluation for online classes? I believe as of now they're standardized in person and online, to my knowledge. But is there anything to be said for making a modified version because that distance of learning has been exacerbated, as you say? Just wondering.
To my knowledge, Jennifer is our academic affairs council chair, and that this is somewhat part of academic affairs, but it also has to do with what we call our faculty development and resources council in terms of faculty effectiveness and so on. We have not discussed the possibility, to my knowledge, of creating a second set or a second application of student evaluations based for online only. We have standardized just a couple questions, several questions about the instructor ratings, about the course ratings, and we also value the free-form feedback that we get in the open text boxes that allow students to feedback directly. But I don't think we have started any situation where online courses might, or faculty might be evaluated differently from on campus. And that might create a dichotomous system which makes it a bit more problematic for department chairs and other administrators to evaluate faculty on an even platform. So there may be complications beyond just the simple mode of delivery and accommodating that.
All right. Senator Zahn, if you had any closing thoughts, and then I think we'll have to move on to soft skills next.
Awesome. I just have a follow-up question or maybe suggestions probably regarding the response rate of students. I think some instructors do muddiest point. You know, if someone fill up evaluations, they get like 5 points or something along the line. But this is not consistent across different departments. So maybe Department of Chemistry does that. You know, some instructors just put it out there. You know, if a student fill up evaluation and then they just take a screenshot of that and submit it as an assignment, group assignment, and as a bonus point or something along the line. The weightage is very, very low, but just, you know, putting a number out there encourages students to submit the evaluations. But I think it's not consistent. Department of Economics, I think, does not allow putting a points for TA evaluations or instructor evaluations. So maybe working along the line to, you know, make it consistent across different departments might help to increase the response rate. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I think that's a really great conversation about hybrid learning. I think we'll have to move into talking about soft skills a little bit, just so we still have time to hit some more topics tonight. I know especially the Faculty Senate was interested in learning about the student perspective when it comes to micro-credentials, and so that's something we sent out a resource to all these student senators yesterday, and it's linked on the agenda as well, a page that talks about what those actually are. But I'm wondering if anyone from Faculty Senate would like to elaborate a little bit on, you know, anything you're curious about with the student experience with micro-credentials, or even just to share a brief overview for those who might not be familiar. Please, go ahead.
Sure, I can start. I'm, as I said, the chair of Academic Affairs Council, and we've been talking about this recently. So I actually wanted to know from students, have any of you completed micro-credentials? Does anyone have experience going through that? The idea is these are like badges that you would get that you could then show to an employer that you had completed a certain, you know, number of things to show that you have a competency and a skill. And the university is moving towards making more of these. Academic Affairs Council is trying to figure out exactly how we fit in with either overseeing those or not, because currently they're not for credit, they're just like value-added things you could add on. And so I wanted to know if any students have done a micro-credential, and do you see the value in it, or are all of you just confused and trying to figure out what we're talking about?
All right, would love to get some feedback on that. Sir, I think I saw you first back there.
Hello. Okay, it is on. Hi, Suryansh Mishra, nonprofit coordinator. This is the first time I'm hearing about micro-credentials, but I did take a quick look at the site, and it seems like a really cool addition. I was just wondering, it kind of mentions like you can add it to your LinkedIn, which I'm a big fan of. I love adding stuff to my LinkedIn all the time. I was just wondering what other benefits would this extra time put into micro-credentials kind of lead to for a student who's like stepping into the industry? Have you seen like significant benefits, or is this something that industry partners really look for?
It's new to me as well, so the way it's been explained to us by CELT, so the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching is the one spearheading this, and they're sort of trying to standardize micro-credentials across the university. And their idea is that yes, it should help you when you're applying for a job, that you could point to, I have this micro-credential, the employer could click on your badge and see exactly what you did to get it. And some of the badges they're developing have been asked for by industry partners, that they say, these are things we want our new employees to have. Can you create a micro-credential for them? I think it's probably gonna be more of a thing in certain fields and industries than others. So I would see it more, I don't know, maybe in business or certain technology fields, but I'm not sure where it's headed. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Has anyone done one?
Maybe I can add to that one. For example, AI, we're looking at it. Maybe they take one or two, because students don't have the room to do a minor, let's say in AI. Maybe they can do some little credentials and get some certificate, So it's like a sticker on your helmet. If you're a football player, right, they get those. So that kind of thing, something to differentiate yourself.
Badges, not certificates.
Sorry, badges. Yeah. So something to differentiate yourself. That's the whole idea of this. That you don't have the room for a minor, or joint major, whatever. So this is simple, something 2 or 3. But it may not work for all majors, by the way. Some of them maybe, like AI. Maybe you can just do some tools and get some, I have some credentials in tools, so.
All right, Kamar, go ahead.
So I guess this is kind of semi-related to what you were talking about, but I was curious, so are these badges going to be like major or like college specific? Because I'm a political science major, would I be able to attempt a badge for something that's like chemical engineering or something like that? I'm just curious.
The idea we've heard from CELT is that they're meant to be very targeted. So maybe you would do a badge in process development in agriculture. So it's sort of narrowly targeted. They don't all live in departments or colleges. Some of them are coming from outside units. I think they're open to anyone. I don't know if you have to have certain sort of base knowledge to do them, but the idea is they're meant to be very focused on some particular skill that's relevant in a field. And so there could be, one that's about, process development in agriculture, and a separate one that's about process development in business, but they're meant to be focused on fields or. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure. Did that answer your question?
So I could see this really having a kind of a place in design fields where you're using, for example, certain software tools. And so I'm thinking about students. I teach a course on resumes and portfolios and that sort of thing. And one of the things they'll do is they'll want to indicate proficiency with something like AutoCAD or Rhino or Lumion or something like that. And that would be great, because employers sometimes are very interested in how do you do this and how well do you do it? Because maybe everyone's been introduced to these things, and yet some students really make use of them because they have some choice in their design studios. So I think in landscape architecture, certainly this would be a very useful thing. And I think I've heard some talk about this from the professional side, that they want more clarity about what students are able to do when they're coming out of the BLA program or the MLA program.
All right. Awesome. Here, we'll go President Hirsch real quick, and then Speaker Momini.
I think the badges are interesting. Personally, I'm an economics major, but one of the interesting things about the econ department, I feel like we need to use Excel more, especially because a lot of economics majors go into the business field. And so for me, I put an emphasis on using LinkedIn Learning. And so you can get certificates from LinkedIn Learning. And if you're not familiar with LinkedIn Learning, it's something that university provides for free. I mean, we do pay for it in one of our fees. But to be able to have that, I think it's great because first of all, I get material to practice on that I get to keep forever and use it whenever I like to and revisit it. And then also, I think employers know what you're getting when you have a LinkedIn certificate. They can see the curriculum of that. And my concern is with a badge, are students going to have to start paying for it? Are they going to prioritize it over some of their coursework potentially? Because they think it'll make a difference with career fair or any other opportunity for a job. And I think with a LinkedIn certificate too is employers know exactly what they're getting. And it's the same across a range of applicants as well. So that's one thing that I have, because a certificate from Iowa State, I mean, what does that necessarily mean if it's for increasing your communication? But at least through LinkedIn, you have a general idea of what you're getting in the course that person went through. So those are my own personal beliefs with the LinkedIn Learning. Yeah, it's standardized.
My thoughts on the badges are a little bit critical too. I went to an expo type thing where they had brought up an opportunity to earn these micro credentials, and so I went and looked at what type of micro credentials they were offering. And to get the micro credential, you had to go specifically to the class, like the short little hour session that they were doing, and it turns out that it would have been basically me sitting through an hour of something that I had already learned in a semester long class, something that I had already been proficient in, if not more than proficient, of what they were going to be able to provide in an hour. But I don't get that micro credential. So it just feels a little unfair if there's not a way to get around those stipulations of, well, you have to do this type of coursework to get that micro credential, when in reality I've already done that. So I think that if there were a way to get around adding those without having to sit through something that you've already done, especially almost done with my term here at Iowa State, and I'm sure there's multiple micro credentials that I could add to my LinkedIn, but they just popped up magically when I'm ready to graduate. So that's kind of my take on it.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name, but if you'd like to add on, please go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Reinhard, please.
Is it on? Okay. I have a similar kind of question. So who determines what micro-credential is needed? Because you said that they're very specific. So who determines what micro-credential would be needed for a certain type of company? And then could a student say that they want a certain type of micro-credential that we don't offer here? I've taken a few courses that offer certificates, and I know you specifically said they're not certifications. So could courses offer a micro-credential as a joint thing? Like you take this course and you get a micro-credential?
So right now, a couple clarifications. One, here at Iowa State, we have majors, minors, and certificates. Those have gone through the whole Faculty Senate academic approval process. What we call certificates here, specifically academic certificates, are programs that have been reviewed. They're at least 20 credits, and so we just want to make sure to distinguish certificates from micro-credentials. They're different things. So certificates are courses that you basically stack into a program. These micro-credentials are right now meant to be sort of outside of the course space. They're things you don't get them from taking a course, but maybe they're trainings or experiential learning opportunities or parts of a course. And the way it's working right now is usually faculty can apply to CELT. They write an application, a proposal, hey, we want to create this micro-credential, and CELT approves it. But it's coming from whoever wants to offer the micro-credential. So if there are micro-credentials students want that don't exist yet, they would have to find someone to offer that, I guess. And so I don't know how we're going to be adding more micro-credentials in the future, but right now they're mostly coming from faculty in certain departments or programs that are trying to basically find a way for students to acknowledge skills that they have to their employers. And right now they're supposed to be sort of outside of the course space, and for current students you don't pay anything extra for them, although there is some talk about maybe non-students, working professionals who could come and get badges from Iowa State and would pay a fee for those to get badges by doing trainings and things like that.
All right. if we can move over to Senator Jones, and then unfortunately we might have to move on to our next topic, but I assure you all there will be an opportunity later on. If you weren't able to ask your question, we'll make sure we connect you with the right folks as well. But Senator Jones, for now, go ahead.
Is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. As an elementary education major, I don't know how beneficial it would be for me. I have friends in different majors that I believe would be like wonderful opportunities for them. I would love to learn more about this because this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Especially in my classes, I think maybe it doesn't apply to me specifically, but my friends in different majors and different colleges, I'm sure they would love to learn more about this and see how this benefits them and makes them more marketable to employers.
Can I make one quick suggestion? If you guys are interested in learning more about this, I'm not the expert, but Tanya Austin and Sarah Marchetti from CELT, the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, are the people overseeing this whole effort. So if you guys ever want to invite Tanya Austin to one of your meetings to give a short presentation, she gave a presentation to our Academic Affairs Council group a couple weeks ago, and it was very informative and might help you learn more and then ask questions of her, and she has the real answers.
All right, thank you very much. And so, like I said, unfortunately, to kind of be respectful to this hour, we might not hit exactly everything we wanted to talk about. But if you do have any questions, either from the faculty or the student side that you weren't able to ask or have answered, you can definitely send them to myself, and we'll make sure they go to the right people, or Rachel as well. Want to make sure that this is the start of the conversation, not the end of it. So we'll definitely have more opportunities to connect. But as far as majors, minors, and degree programs go, I know Faculty Senate was especially interested in hearing from anyone who had experience directly or indirectly with concurrent degree programs. So I'm wondering if on the student side there's anyone who would like to speak to that at all. If Reinhardt, you'd like to start us off.
So I am an animal science major, and I'm also currently a microbiology major. I originally started with a microbiology minor, and I had a little bit of trouble comparing the microbiology and animal science degrees when I was deciding if I wanted to minor or major. So I was wondering, what could we do to make the comparison a little smoother when it comes to comparing what prereqs would be required for both, because I know that when you double major, you can compare prereqs, so then you don't have to take as many classes. But it is not really there's not really a smooth way to compare the degrees. So is there a way that we could maybe work on that? I kind of had to do it a lot by myself, figuring out what classes could compare and transfer over.
Yeah, I think my first piece of advice would be your academic advisor is there to help you with that, and that's a big part of their job. So you should all feel comfortable reaching out to your academic advisor, whoever it is, and saying things like, hey, I'm thinking of switching majors or double majoring. What would that entail? And they can walk you through that step by step. Also, Workday does have a feature now where you can do a what if scenario, so you can put in different programs and it'll show you sort of what's satisfied and not satisfied in your academic progress. So you could look at that on your own a little bit, but then go meet with your academic advisor, and they're there to walk you through this because they know the details of what are all the required courses and which ones overlap and what things can double count and what things can't double count. And so working with someone, is a faculty or a staff advisor, would be really helpful. And the gen eds, yeah. The gen eds do differ by college, though. So if you're thinking of taking 2 different majors in 2 different colleges, that's where those things can get a little complicated.
All right, that helped. Perfect. We'll go Senator Azan and then Director Frost.
So I'm going to share grad students' experience as well, especially grad students who are doing major or minor with the fields that are, interdisciplinary. It's very challenging for them to actually get enrolled in the course, because the course offer is odd number of years, or 3 years after 3 years, and they are doing minor and they are 5th year, and just because the course is not offering for the next 2 years, they cannot complete the minor. And it's very, very concerning, and this is something that is brought up multiple times in graduate and professional senate as well, and I've been involved with them in 2 years. So something that can be done in faculty senate is to make sure if we can have like a document or something that the students can review and plan their courses, especially with like, interdisciplinary courses. Most of the instructors, major professors, and PI are not aware of it, about like, the policies when they're gonna offer, so they have to like, go back and review. As a student, you have to do it by yourself, try to plan your courses. The courses for major, it's relatively simpler, but for minors, if you are doing it, it's very challenging for grad students to figure that out, because the courses are not offered even number or non-odd numbers. It's 3 years or 2 years, after 2 years. Thank you.
Hi, I was just going to make a point too, because we didn't really explain it all that far, about a concurrent degree program and what that is. So that would be where you would get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree all in 5 years. So you could do it in 3 years of undergrad and 2 years of taking master's courses, or you could do it in 4 years of undergrad and 1 year of taking master courses. It's all kind of intermixed, but you get what I'm saying. And then if there was any issues too that people have run into while they're trying to get a concurrent degree, like if they've had a loss of scholarship funds or any issues like that while pursuing those types of things.
All right, we'll go to Sir, and then we'll hit 1 or 2 more people before we move on to our next topic. Go ahead.
So I don't know how relevant this is, but I had recently had a friend who was double majoring in like math and environmental engineering, which is my major, and then she switched from a double major to a double degree. I know double degrees will, if I've heard correctly, will not be offered after this year. I was just wondering like what the main difference between a double degree versus a double major is. Are there any significant benefits, and why is the double degree program being canceled or like being stopped after this year? If anybody could shed some light on that, thank you.
All right. Oh. Well, if anyone would like to add on to that, please feel free.
So I actually have a double degree in agricultural education and event management, and the way my advisor explained it to me was he rolled up 2 pieces of paper, he handed me one and said, "This is a double major," has 2 lines on it to say you're both programs, handed me a second piece of paper and said, "This is a double degree." So basically I get 2 diplomas, and many of the credits go to both. So classes I'm taking for my ag count as electives in my event management, and like vice versa, and then there's some that cross over. So it is kind of hard to make them cross over, but basically you're getting 2 pieces of paper at the end of it. And if anybody like knows more about it than I do, please share, because that's just what my advisor told me.
All right. Thank you, President Parsa. If you'd, oh.
Can I
Sorry,
just
please.
ask a clarifying question? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yeah, I don't know anything about the double degree versus double major. Nothing's gone through Senate that has said we're going to get rid of double degrees, and so I'm wondering, is the cessation of the double degree, is that just for that department or that major, or like did somebody send an email to all the students saying, hey, we're not going to do double degrees anymore? Okay, so maybe it might just be just that department or that major or that program. I'm not sure.
This is completely different. I was going to pitch in the one you mentioned, that is, you can extend by 1 more year and get a master's degree. College of Business has a huge program in MBA. A lot of engineering, animal science. Somebody was animal science here. So animal science people do this MBA. So that's an excellent opportunity while you're here. Just extend by a year. I think that's a good thing to get another additional master's degree in a short, quickly.
All right, well, thank you very much. I think we've hit just about everyone on concurrent degree programs there who was wishing to speak on that. And so just for the sake of time, I'm not sure we'll have time to get to the affordability topic, but Director Carver, can you wave back there? That's Director Carver back there. He's our Director of Affordability. I know he had a couple of things he was hoping to share with faculty senators when it comes to textbook affordability. That's really what he specializes in. He's very passionate about it as well. So if you have a few minutes afterwards, I encourage you, go say hi. His name's Bob, Director Carver. Talk to him a little bit about that, even if we don't have time to do it in a group setting. So I would encourage you to do that. We want to be respectful of the hour that you've chosen to share with us as well. If you had something, please.
Maybe I can make a comment. We are having somebody from the library and the bookstore come and speak to the Senate on this exact topic on March 8th. So, because they're also concerned about affordability and they're trying to bring the prices down. or keep the same, not downward.
Sounds great. All right, so again, just being respectful of the hour that you've shared with us as well, I think we'll close out with artificial intelligence, AI in the classroom. So if there's any students that would like to share their experiences with that, or any members of faculty who would like to hear the student experience about that, we'd love to hear any closing comments about that. I thought this was the most exciting one, you guys. Are we not? If you'd like to start, please.
So I am chairing the AI committee for the university. We're kind of looking into one of the goals of this committee, the provost, is AI is accessible to every student in the discipline of their choice. So there's something in AI they can do whatever the major you will be, and then that's what we're working towards, and creating some other things, and with several centers, and also creating marketing, make it easy so that people can know what's there. There is AI minor. Looks like not many people know about AI minor. We don't get enough enrollment. So we're trying to get the marketing, getting people to know, students to know, because I am close to retirement, but you guys are starting. So this is your future, AI. So I think you should all look into AI, be excited about AI, find every opportunity to learn something about AI.
All right, Speaker Momini, and then we'll go Senator Marcus.
I personally don't really use AI. I don't like ChatGPT. I don't like any of that. But I was recently in one of my classes, we had somebody from the library come down and show us a different kind of AI that I wasn't used to, not the kind that does your homework for you, but rather the kind that you can help to find research articles. I do a lot of research articles, and literature reviews and finding sources can be like the bane of my existence, especially when it comes to annotated bibliographies. But somebody from the library came and showed us sources to AI sources to help us find sources, and even quickly summarize them to see if they're applicable to the research that you're looking for. So I think that maybe in a joint effort to kind of get those AI type products out there rather than the ones that do your homework for you, I think that would be great, because I didn't know that stuff like that existed before the library program came and showed that. So that's kind of my input on AI.
All right, so my biggest experience with AI is, I would say that a big thing for me is that I always really struggled in English classes, and then actually just this semester, my English professor went through one of our first classes. I think it was week 2, our first class during week 2. She was telling us that AI can actually be a really helpful tool towards getting you started, and not even just to start your paper, but just to give you ideas and get ideas flowing. And so just to even put in the assignment prompt and ask for general ideas, and then maybe start asking deeper about other ideas, and encouraged us to use that strategy for our first few assignments here. And now going on our second assignment, she purposely raised it to a higher word limit and challenged us to go for 1,500 words, to where normally papers I've finished in the past are 700, 800 words. And so I finished that paper just the other day and got it up to 1,600 words, and actually had to go down just because I actually found a topic using AI that I was interested in and that I wanted to write about.
All right, and so to be respectful of time, I think we'll have to kind of round off the folks that are currently have their placards up, but next we'll go with Director Harrington.
This is probably kind of more of a question for Faculty Senate, but just kind of going along with the discussion of AI and the recent uproar of it and how multifaceted it's become, has there been any agreement at the university level of a certain website to maybe use for, in an English class, detecting AI when they're writing a paper? Has that been a discussion that you guys have had at all?
What I've heard is most of those detection things don't really work very well. They can't tell you for sure, and so then faculty can't really use those to punish a student because we can't prove that you used it. So no, there's no one website we're all using, and I think most faculty are trying to think about how do we write our questions in a way that ChatGPT couldn't just spit out an answer, that you actually have to write it. And so I think there's still a lot more discussion to be had, but faculty are trying to think about what do we want our students to learn, what skills do we want them to have, and what things do they still need to produce on their own? And so, like you were saying, ChatGPT, or not ChatGPT, but some kinds of AI could be really helpful in helping you either get started or look for references. But what we want is, we don't want you guys just plugging in a question and having it spit out your assignment answer and not even reading it before you turn it in, because I've had students submit things that say things like, I am an AI language model, I don't have an opinion. So clearly they didn't even read their answer before they submitted it. So there's not one tool that could help you but not do your work for you, and to still think about, you know, the integrity of writing your own answers and having it help you synthesize things or get feedback, but not do the work for you.
Can I make a quick comment?
Please.
So I think this is akin to, maybe Rob is there, I mean, he can relate to this, I think. This is life before calculator, you know? When a calculator started, our math professors think, oh my God, this guy's gonna cheat and they're not gonna learn a damn thing in math, you know? But now anybody knows how his life is without a calculator. So I think AI is similar. We're all learning, really early stages. So once we get the hang of it, professors will figure out how to use AI to get good questions, and you'll figure out how to use it too. So I think it's just we are way in the early stage, just like calculator. I think that's the same. Maybe it's good. It's a good analogy.
All right. So if that will go to this row on my left here, and we'll just kind of go down and finish those who have their placards up. But I would encourage you just to be mindful with your final comments as far as time goes. But any closing thoughts you have about AI, starting with Azan?
Yeah, I'm going to echo with, as a student, sometimes it's a similar feeling, you know, you're not using AI, the other student is using AI, you know, and the other student is getting the more grade compared to you. So I think as a student, I think it's also important for faculty to come up with creative ways to structure their questions, because what I have noticed that it's the same assignments from like past 10 years being used over you know, different semesters. They're not putting efforts to change it just because they are tenure track professors doing research is more significant for them than teaching in terms of their, you know, the way it's structured, portfolio, whatever you call. So I think having creative component involved in structuring the questions will really help to, you know, make sure the students are doing learning as well and learning outcomes is accomplished. Thank you.
Are they planning to incorporate AI with assignments? Because when I went through my Calc 3 syllabus, I noticed that there was an assignment called AI, CAS Assignment 1. And if they are infusing AI with assignments, like what does that entail?
All right, if anyone wants to chime in, feel free. If not, all right, go ahead.
Okay. I think AI is evolving before us. So what I want to say is don't hate AI, because it's only going to get better. And if we don't embrace AI now, I think others are going to embrace it and get ahead. I think Marcus shared an experience here in which AI has been helpful, and I think it helps in many, many other ways. So the earlier we embrace AI, I think the better. So for faculty senate members here, I would like to say, towards the school administration aspect, when policies comes towards AI, I think we should encourage use, especially in creative aspects. Now, there are concerns about AI adoption, there are concerns towards assessment, and so we should look more towards skill acquisition. What are the learning objectives? I've been in schools in which assessment for courses have been done orally. A student meets the professor and they discuss about this. Okay, what do you learn from here? So we should think of more other ways of assessing what the student is learning, and also we should really focus on what's the learning outcome of this. Many other tools could be used to get at that point.
All right, thank you. And so we'll end with Senator Pelzer.
Okay, so I really completely agree with what all my fellow senators have said. What I would recommend is having a small training similar to our free speech training that's just online, completed on your own time, on the ethics of AI and how to use it and how it's acceptable to use it at Iowa State. So that's my idea.
I'm actually supposed to have emailed today this morning the library person. I think Lib 1600 is the class. I think that's where we're gonna put those things, kind of things, and I'm gonna talk to her, or him, or whoever the person is, and so that's a goal. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Again, we want to be respectful. Oh, if you had something, please.
Yeah, I just had one more thing to say about this. It reminds me of a conversation I had with a colleague recently. I teach a plants class, and they have to memorize the botanical name of the plant and the common name, and they have to be able to recognize it. And so I was talking with my colleague about this, and I told her that a student had come up to me and said, "Why do we have to do this? I can just look it up on my phone." And so my colleague Heidi said, "That's the difference between knowledge and information. And knowledge is what you really want. And so knowledge in this field, it's very important to know these things, and to be able to interact with other people in the professional realm, contractors, horticulturalists, whatever it is, and actually have this in you. That's really important, I think. And so, yeah, you can look it up, but so maybe that's the key for AI, is when AI can help you do something because you know what you're looking for. Like, talked about like doing a search for articles or something, for literature search. Well, there's a famous case or infamous case recently of a law firm who, you heard about this, I don't know where it was, but it's recent. And the law firm used AI to find citations for legal cases, and the AI just hallucinated. That's what they call it, hallucinating. It hallucinated articles. It just made them up. And so then the firm got in big trouble. The judge, fined them heavily for this because they submitted something that was just fake, and they didn't know. So I think that the key there is the firm said, well, we're so overworked, we didn't have time to do it right. And I think that for anybody, any student, any professor dealing with this kind of thing, I think it's what you were saying about learning objectives. What is the learning objective? What do you want to be able to know how to do? Whether it's writing a composition, actually, being able to structure a paragraph or something like that, is that important? If it's important, then I think it's always going to be easy, I think, to sort of dodge and kind of cheat the system to get the end product. But, what you really want to know, what kind of knowledge, what's the learning objective and the knowledge that you're aiming for. And I think that's kind of the distinction to make, is it helping you find something that you already kind of know how to do, or is it a substitute for knowledge? So I think knowledge is still important for all of us, whatever the tools we use.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry that we're a few minutes over time here, and so we kind of have to wrap up the conversation. But again, I know we were just able to kind of scratch the surface on these things, but we really appreciate you all from the Faculty Senate being here as well. We really want student government to be a place that you can go to get quality student feedback. And so being able to hear from folks in this room from every different college, not just Martin and Rachel and myself, but being able to talk to all the students we have as well. So I'm really glad we were able to do this. I hope in the future that this is the start of the conversation. We can find more forums like this to connect. And again, if you have anything that we weren't able to touch on tonight, we'd love to hear from you. Find a time to meet. We'll answer your email. We'd love to get you the answers to any questions that you might have for students. So we really appreciate it. Hopefully that this is the start of a stronger, more proactive relationship between our senates. And again, we appreciate you being here after work hours on a Monday night. And so only last thing that I would say is I am told by our PR folks we'd love to get a group photo if you're not on your way out as well. So, President Parsa, please.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for inviting us, and I hope you'll continue. Megan will be president next year, so you can maybe do at least once a semester or once a year, This is wonderful. We'd like to hear your feedback. I mean, we are here for you. We won't exist without you. So we want to know what you want and what's good for you, what you like, what you don't. So this is a great opportunity. Thank you for doing this. I hope you'll continue.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Didn't mean to cut you off there. Absolutely. If we can find more venues like this and forums in the future, we'd love to keep this going. We really agree. And thank you again for being here. Like I said, if you'd love a group photo, we'd love to have you over here. Without objection, we will adjourn.